So I'm sure a lot of you are quite aware that the new Call of Duty was revealed and the trailer came out yesterday, and that the new game is going to be a reimagining of the Modern Warfare series. The Call of Duty community is pretty excited. There's a lot of really great changes coming this year finally that have been asked for a long time. And, you know, the trailer itself looked pretty goddamn phenomenal. I, for one, am quite excited for this game, I should say. Now, there's some people out there who aren't as excited, and that's fine. You know, I know a lot of people don't like Call of Duty. That's completely acceptable. I get why a lot of people don't like Call of Duty. Trust me, I really do. But, there's also people who just don't like it because I don't even know. I don't know necessarily what this is. I don't know how to explain this. I knew this was going to happen the moment I saw the trailer, the moment I saw them say that the game was going to be ultra realistic, that it was going to focus on terrorism and like real world events in the current time. And once they started sharing details of like the mission where, you know, you almost kill this mom because you think she's armed, and you know, they go into this building full of terrorists where they're all dressed like civilians. Once they started detailing all this stuff about how this new Call of Duty campaign was going to be extremely realistic and it was going to show the graphicness of war and show how shitty war really gets, you know, because Call of Duty has naturally kind of glorified war over the years in the manner that, you know, you're kind of like this superhero player slash squad just wiping through all of these, you know, faceless, nameless soldiers and whatnot. But this year that's changing, that they're actually making a campaign that is supposed to make the No Russian controversial mission look like cake work. So I knew once that came to light that we would have people like this come out of the woodwork and start saying stupid shit. But I didn't expect it within the first 12 hours of the game's trailer being out. So I get a whole shit ton of messages and ats and everything on Twitter about this article, and it's an article by a guy named Dean Takahashi. Dean has been a game journalist for over 30 years, and he is currently most famously known for not being able to complete the tutorial of Cuphead. So somehow somebody who spends pretty much as their job all their time around video games is unable to complete the tutorial level of a video game honestly doesn't shock me considering what I've read from him, but the fact that he can't complete a tutorial to a video game is just a fucking joke, I should say. And once you kind of take that into consideration and you realize that this guy has just no idea what he's talking about, you know, this article is going to make a lot more sense. So, Dean has quite a hot take on the new Call of Duty Modern Warfare. He was one of the people who got to see some early impressions of it at Infinity Ward. A lot of YouTubers, game journalists, streamers were flown out by Activision just like they do every single year to see the new Call of Duty game early to get their impressions of it and whatnot, because it's a great marketing tactic to get everybody hyped up for the game. And apparently Dean was one of these people. Now, Activision, if you're watching this video, I don't know why I'm not getting invited to these events. You know, I don't know why I'm not getting flown out to your game, but Dean here is being flown out. I'd love to know what's going on there, but you would think that they'd want to invite somebody who actually, like, gives a shit about Call of Duty and, like, understands what's going on. However, you know, I did not receive an RSVP opportunity to go to this event. So, now Dean is quite the intelligent boy here, okay? Dean seems to not understand exactly what war means. He starts detailing some of the missions that they got to see, and this has been detailed by pretty much everybody who went to the event, so I'm not necessarily going to go too far into depth for that. If you really do care about Modern Warfare, you don't know much about it, I did make a video over on my Optimus Games channel, kind of detailing everything from the trailer and some of the new information regarding the crossplay, the new DLC models, no season pass, free post-launch content, things like that. But I really want to focus on what Dean had to say towards, I guess, the end of all this, because I think that's what, you know, really stands out in this article. So apparently Modern Warfare is bloody, but it's not a sea of blood spraying everywhere, but sometimes the medium is the message. Sometimes the horror of a particular scene outweighs the point you're trying to make. There might be a message in what the developers intend, but it might be overshadowed. This is supposed to be a video game. It will undoubtedly have a multiplayer element where players shoot each other for fun and have a hell of a time doing it. That's when we'll see that guns are the star of the show, and the incongruity of it all will be clear. Well, Dean, okay, for somebody who states in the first sentence of this article that you've been a Call of Duty fan since 2003, you'd realize that the campaign and the multiplayers aren't necessarily always tied together. The multiplayer often will take like maps, and those will be inspired from locations in the campaign and weapons and stuff like that. But, you know, the multiplayer and the campaign are basically two different devils altogether here. So it's kind of weird that you didn't understand that, especially since, you know, you've been a Call of Duty fan nearly as long as I've been alive. And you say the horror of a particular scene outweighs the point you're trying to make. I'm pretty sure that the point that they're trying to make is that all of the shit you're seeing is screwed up, and this is the truth of war. Because I don't know if you guys understand this or not, but I'm sure a lot of you have never been to war. I've never been to war. But having, you know, spoke to people who have served in war, and like seeing footage of it, and, you know, reading about it in history class, war generally isn't like a nice meeting. You know, people don't just come together like shake hands, hug and kiss, happy little sunshine rainbow fun time, right? You know, people die, mistakes are made, civilians often get killed, the wrong target sometimes gets killed, political motives might not necessarily be clear, or they might be misconstrued for, you know, some person's gain. War is a very shitty thing. I think we can all understand and agree on that. War is a very ugly, just disgusting creature of nature. War and conflict have existed since life, basically. Okay, humans, we kind of take war too far quite often, but you know, that's what this message is all about. Okay, I don't know how you got flown out to see this and could not understand or comprehend this. I just don't get it. What about this is not clicking in your head? The game is not meaning to be like, oh yeah, shooting civilians is great, man. You know, killing civilians is awesome. Blowing up houses is a great thing. Terrorism is awesome, man. That's not what the game is intending to send as a message. But apparently, you just can't get that one through your head. Anyway, the overall dramatic effect of the intense scenes should be memorable and artistic, not gratuitous or base. The developers can fall back on the argument that this is our world. The game is ripped from the headlines, but this puts us on a slippery slope towards a lot of things. What about school shootings? What about Christchurch? Do we want to put these in video games because they exist in the real world? I don't know about you, but I think a very good way to kind of make a memorable impression that war is a very shitty thing is like showing civilians being killed. Showing people like the real world effect of your actions. Consequences of being caught in the crossfire. I think those are pretty good ways to be memorable and artistic in such a dark topic. And yes, the developers can fall back on the argument that this is our world because, unfortunately, things like school shootings and Christchurch happen. Unfortunately, terrorist attacks happen on a daily basis pretty much around the world. Do we want to put those in video games because they exist in the real world? These are the topics that the game is covering. Not necessarily like school massacres and whatnot, but things like Christchurch, like, you know, religiously and politically motivated terrorism, that's going to be covered in this game. And the thing is you should know that since they flew you out to see the goddamn game. This preview requires us to trust the developer, but in this case, Infinity Ward has not delivered as well as sister studios Treyarch and Sledgehammer Games. The studio keeps skating closer to the edge in order to make us uncomfortable. We can view that cynically. As gamers, we don't necessarily trust Infinity Ward to deliver an elevated experience given the pressures it is under. Sometimes you have to judge something on what your eyes just tell you. And my vote is that this single-player campaign should not ship with these scenes. Okay. You say Infinity Ward has not delivered as well as the sister studios, okay? What do you mean by that? Okay, because, you know, you've been such a good Call of Duty fan, right? You've been a fan since 2003. What do you mean they haven't delivered as well as the sister studios, okay? Because, I mean, in a lot of regards, Infinity Ward has done much better than these two studios when it comes down to certain elements of development. The microtransaction system in Infinite Warfare was actually quite good for the consumer, and it benefited that game a lot. The campaigns have always been a pretty strong suit for Infinity Ward, even with games like Infinite Warfare and Ghosts, where the community didn't necessarily back those games. They still had great stories. They still had good dialogue. You know, they still had good intentions behind that campaign. Infinite Warfare, okay, just for example, has one of the best Call of Duty campaigns. But just hands down, in my opinion. As gamers, we don't necessarily trust Infinity Ward to deliver an elevated experience given the pressures it's under. Who are you speaking for? Because, you know, from my reaction, and from a very good community reaction, considering this trailer has almost gotten universal hype from the Call of Duty community, I think a very good chunk of us do trust Infinity Ward to deliver an elevated experience. Because we know that they make good campaigns, we know that they tell good stories. You know, just because you don't like something doesn't mean we all hate it, right? Sometimes you have to judge something on what your eyes can tell you. I'm going to do that right now and say that maybe your job and your calling in life is not game journalism. You don't really have any idea what you're talking about. You just kind of base shit on emotion. You don't really think rationally, and that's why you gave up on Cuphead after 8 minutes of playing it because you just couldn't get past the tutorial. I mean, I'm just judging something off what my eyes tell me, man. You should retire. And your vote is that the single-player campaign should not ship with these scenes. Well, thankfully, there was quite the response to our boy's tweet here, so. Dean went as far as to call his impressions of this game, quote, frightening. I cannot imagine what it's like to be a grown man who has been working in the video game industry for 3 decades. I can't imagine what it's like to have those credentials and to be so bitch-made over a Call of Duty campaign, okay? The sad reality is we have people like Dean who say stupid shit like this. We have grown men who are more frightened over a Call of Duty campaign than the true horrors of the war that it's being based on. We have a grown man who is, quote, frightened over a Call of Duty campaign trailer and 2 missions in a video game. Keep in mind, this is a video game, okay? It's a video game. This is not, you know, a real scenario. Dean did not go to the Middle East and witness a counter-terrorist operation take place firsthand. Dean saw a video game trailer and he says it is a frightening direction and thinks that we should censor the video game because it tells a story he doesn't like. And it shows gory violence and the reality of war, which he doesn't like, because Dean is sensitive. Hey guys, this is the editor here, Mr. Optimus, and I'm watching back on this, and our boy Dean here decided to, he said, and I quote, that he doesn't believe that censoring the game is the right move. Now, I want to go ahead and contrast that to his previous statement in which he says, and I quote, his vote is no on this game being shipped with these scenes. So, do you want the game censored or not, Dean? You gonna make your mind up, buddy? You know, are you an offended little puss, or are you for them being able to tell a story? Which one? Let me interject some of my personal opinion in on this because I feel like it can create some good context and maybe make a very good counter-argument here. I think that this Modern Warfare game going in the campaign direction that it is, even though I haven't seen any footage of these missions that are being talked about in the way that they are, I think that it might actually be a good thing, simply because you see these missions and stuff on the news and you understand that we have a problem with terrorism in the modern world, but I think that this game might actually send a message and it might be impactful enough to show people, like, hey, guess what? This is real world stuff. This happens every day in the real world. There are people in your neighborhood who have done this in real life and are suffering with the consequences mentally for the rest of their life. There are families in these war-torn areas that have witnessed this stuff firsthand. Maybe it is a good thing that this game's gonna shock everybody. Maybe it's a good thing that people see some shit that they're uncomfortable with. Maybe it's good that people broaden their horizons a little bit and understand, you know, what other people go through. You know, just my 2 cents on the whole thing. It's almost sad that, you know, like, the joke is that the average Call of Duty fan is like this 11-year-old. We have 11-year-olds with more balls than this grown man who look at this trailer and they're like, hey, this looks like a great video game. Can't wait to play. Dean is over here sobbing in his hands because it's frightening. Like, are you kidding me, dude? Like, do you need me to make sure you don't cry? Are you gonna cry, Dean? Please just don't cry. It's a weird time, man. Like, it's just a weird time. Like, this is the best Call of Duty has looked in years. And I mean years. And we already got people over here trying to turn this shit into something it's not. Oh, this video game is too scary and violent and it shows the real-world consequences of war, and I don't like it, therefore we should censor it, right? No, Dean. We shouldn't just censor a game because you don't like it, okay? We shouldn't censor the real world because you don't like it. We shouldn't censor media based on the real world and the consequences of real war because you think it's frightening. I, for one, am going to play this campaign and probably enjoy it. Probably think it's a great campaign that tells a very good message, even though it's maybe not told in a way that I would find very comforting at sometimes. But then again, I'm also not a fucking idiot, so I don't buy a Call of Duty game and expect for it to be toy swords and tickle fights. It's just weird, man. We live in a really weird time where people just apparently were frightened over Call of Duty trailers. I don't know. It's a goddamn shame, man. Thankfully, people did not respond to this very well, but I wanted to bring some attention to this because, I mean, what kind of person gets offended or scared over a Call of Duty trailer, you know? Apparently, Dean just didn't really know what to do. So, thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're brand new around here on my channel. Please don't subscribe if you're a little puss and you're gonna get scared by seeing something that you might not like. Follow me over on Twitter at @SubToOptimus. I post memes, thoughts, and updates over there. It's a surefire way to get notifications of all my newest content. Join the Discord down below. Lots of great things going on down there as well. Thank you to my channel members for your $5 a month. Your support helps my channel tremendously. If you'd like a safe space to help shelter you away from the fears of the real world, make sure to go ahead and give me $5 a month. You can do so by hitting the join button down below, or the become a channel member link in the description. And until my next video, guys, this is Optimus, hiding in a safe space, and also deciding that we should go ahead and censor video games that I find bad because of what they detail, and signing out.